And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It has been 2 years since I went live. Time just flies. All right, let's get into it. I'm in a couple of trades, but I want to do another markup. Just make sure I'm not missing anything on these trades. Make sure I'm not holding anything longer than needs to be held. So we're going to start with GJ. I am currently trading ICT concepts with Romeo's CRT zones. So I'm looking at the weekly zones, and it's simple. It's just marking up the high and the low of the week before, and then waiting for Romeo calls it a unicorn setup, and then ICT followers call it a turtle soup. I'm not sure, what the proper term is at this point. Everybody renames everything for their own convenience, but it's basically a run on liquidity and then break a structure that creates a gap, and then price comes back to the gap, and that's our entry. So this down here was where price ran liquidity. It came out of our weekly CRT zones, and this right here would be our breaker structure. And then this gave us a gap, put us back in the zone. So I had an entry, well, I have an entry 192646. 192646. Hold on, I can't hear myself anymore. All right. 192646 was my entry. But this gap right here is the ideal entry. I just want to track and see if it's going to come back here. And then TP at the 50%. Stop loss here at the low. And I'm going to set my alert. All right, and then I just want to see. All right, so looks like we're in some consolidation here on the monthly. Price fell short of this fair value gap up here. And it looks like we have a nice trend line that I am going to mark up. All right, and then there's a daily fair value gap right here. Going to change my TP. All right, so it looks like first entry should have been down here at this gap. Now we want to see if price is going to come back in and give us another entry. All right, it's GJ. Now we got EJ. EJ has hit TP, so I'm not even going to mark this up or remark it anyways. If GJ is going to continue, I definitely want to see EJ continue. And I want to see what happens here. So we got this inversion over here, and then we got this fair value gap here. That is what is called a price balance range. So let's see if the price comes back into this range and then continues higher. Let's see. I don't see any equal highs yet. I do see a gap right here. That gap was already hit.
Go ahead, do this.
How'd she get that? Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. Alrighty. So we're gonna leave EJ alone. Well, actually, I can remark it and show you how I found this trade. So, like I said, I'm doing the weekly CRT plus ICT concepts, right? So yet again, we go to the weekly candle, the week before your current week. I like to use the magnet tool just to get precise, get as precise as possible, because all you have to do is just put it underneath the candle and it put it right at the low, and then put it right on the candle to get right at the high. Take your fib tool from the low of that candle to the high of that candle to mark out 50% of the candle. And as you can see just by looking at this, it hit the 50%. So what we want to see is price move out of our zone, which is running liquidity, and then come back into the zone and then head to the 50% for your TP. Okay, so I like to come down to the hour or below to look for entries. All right, so on this particular one, I see the entry clear on the 15. We got to break a structure here. Sorry, my headphones. Okay. All right, got a break a structure there, and then we got a break a structure here. And this is the one that left us our fair value gap. I also use the magnet tool when I'm marking up fair value gaps. So I just come to the candle before it, start my box, and then go to the candle after it. All right, I have the 50% marked up on my rectangle. I want to always see price come to 50% because I set limits, buy limit, sell limits. So entry would have been here, and then a stop loss here at this low. That's where my stop loss was at first. And then we got this nice little wick and price moved, continued higher. So I tightened up my stop loss, which made this trade a nice 7-1. Price hit TP. So like I said, I want to see price continue higher if GJ is going to continue up. And I want to see what happens here at this gap. Because just like this one, we had a reaction, price went higher. So I want to see the same thing here, possibly here, but more than likely I want to see it here. All right, so that's what we got for EJ. UJ is coming off of my watch list. All of these wicks completely irk my nerves. So UJ, I got in up here. I got in here where this gap was at. And price did that. And then it came back down. And the other entry was here. I did not catch the other entry. I am no longer interested of even, like, UJ behaves sometimes, but it's a little too wicky for me right now. So I'm deleting this one off my watch list. GJ and EJ is enough. All right, so SPX came down to my entry on this limit, and it shot up. I think it was like 78 points. Okay, 51 points. Okay, because the full thing's 70. So it shot up 51 points and then came back down. I tried to get my community back in. Let me clear this. There was another gap. On this gap right here. When I saw it coming back down, and it was like, nope. Came straight through it and hit stop loss for the ones that missed the first entry. So, but whoever caught the first entry is still in. We're still holding. So I'm going to remark this one. So yet again, I trade ICT concepts with Romeo's CRT, and I do the weekly CRT. All right, so it's just marking up the high and the low of the week before, the candle of the week before, and then taking the fib from the low to the high and just finding 50% of that candle's range. Okay. And as you can see, we haven't hit the 50% yet, which is another reason why I'm coming, just to see if I'm missing something as to why maybe we won't hit the 50%. I see it ran the monthly too. So weekly, daily, and it's looking like, I would say it's looking like consolidation, but this is a lower low. This is a lower high. It came to a higher low, but it didn't break that. So, but this did break this. So it looks like we are moving down. I see another gap right here that it didn't quite hit. I'm gonna mark that. Okay. And then we did currently react off of this daily fair value gap. Okay. So that might have been the TP. I can get this on straight. All right. I don't really see any trend lines or anything. I got this gap and this gap. These are our two major. As you can see, price didn't quite fully hit that. And two relatively equal lows down here. All right, and then there's another gap right here. Price just about ran that. All right, and I can put a trend line right here. And looks like we're staying beneath that. So this is my weekly, and these are 50% of the FPGs. All right, so let's see what we look at. 2 hour. Mm-hmm. Okay, so not quite. Not quite. Not with that one, anyways. I could possibly put one here, but see if I even like how it looks. Uh-oh. We in some kind of funky triangle, but for sure want to see if it's coming down here instead of to my 50%. Let's see. Hey, thanks, babe, for getting on. Hey, Maceo, how you doing? Um, all right, let's see what else we got. All right, so there's potential that we could continue higher before going down there, catching that gap, because we got this right here that price hasn't touched either. So we're definitely caught in between two gaps right now. We have this 50% on that 2 hour that price came so close to. I'm not liking these trend lines. I'm going to delete these because I don't like how they look. I'm gonna keep this one. I deleted the other one. Okay. We're in some funky pattern. I don't like when SPX acts out because wait until I show y'all this US 30 chart. US 30 did what it was supposed to do on a Monday. It came, gave pips, and left. Like, it's ridiculous. So this is my entry right here. TP is supposed to be up here at 50% range of the weekly CRT. But I'm debating if I want to hold it or if I just want to close now. I want to see what's going to happen when price comes here. Let me delete this again. So this is a balanced price range. We have an inversion here, a fair value gap here, another inversion here. We got all types of gaps right here in this area. I'm just going to mark up this one. If price rejects right here, then I want to continue to see it come up to this hourly fair value gap. This was a 2-hour gap, 50% right here. Price came so close to it. Since price came so close to it, I want to see if price is going to hold and come here. So I'm going to hold it and we'll see what happens here. We are currently 38 points in profit. So my entry is here. I'm going to put my stop loss at break even. I'm not going to take it, but I am going to hold it. Now let's take a look at US 30. So this is what I was talking about. US 30 was so beautiful this week. Let's see. Nope, wrong one. US 30 did not play. It gave everything it was supposed to give. It gave full on confluences. And this is another reason why I think SPX is going to continue higher because we have all this liquidity right here. US 30 has to come up and take this. And if US 30s continue to buy, then SPX and NAS should continue to buy. Okay. Let's see. Still has imbalance up here that it hasn't filled. And of course, you know, it's US 30 indices majority. They're buying pairs, but they have their selling times. All right, so let me clear this off and let's see what we got. Give me that. Higher. Bring it here. No, bring me the paper. No. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I have a new puppy, and she is full of energy. Okay, so we got liquidity up here for sure, but like I said, US 30s and indices, so majority of the time it is moving up with its pullback. So I trade the weekly CRT, so I can see we ran the monthly low and came back in the range. And the same goes for the weekly. So this is how I mark up the weekly. Mark up the week before, high and the low. Then take the fib, go from high to low. And mark the 50%. And as you can see, TP hit. I mean, US 30 was beautiful. And I missed it. I missed it because normally the entries for the weekly CRT or majority of the CRT positions are on Tuesdays. And I was trying to wait for Tuesday. But I told myself from now on, I'm not going to wait till Tuesday. I'm going to mark up my high and low on Sunday and then come back Monday, see what happened Monday, come back Tuesday, see if my qualifications to enter the trade has happened. So I missed this one, but we can go over it. So I marked my high and low of the weekly candle, my 50%. Then I'll come down to the 1 hour. What I want to see is price come out of the low or the high, whichever area that I marked up. I want to see price come out, run that liquidity, and then break structure. And when it breaks structure, I want to see it leave a gap. So price did that. Price came out. Price broke structure. And this right here will be my last little structure area because we had a low, higher low, lower low, higher low up in these areas, lower low, higher low, right? So this was my break structure. News. I don't know what that is. Okay. Price broke structure. Price broke structure, and it left a gap beautifully. Step number 2. Mark my gap up. 50% of the gap. Set my limit. Entry right on 50% of the gap. TP at 50% of the weekly zone. Stop loss at the low of the candle that created the gap, which is this one. And bam, straight to TP. And I missed it. It's all right though. I caught SPX. I didn't catch Nas. This hit TP. It actually hit TP right here. Hold on. Trying to see how long it took for this to hit TP. 21 hours, 516 points on US 30 is bank. Yeah, so I missed that one. I'm going to take that off because I was watching it. All right, so EU. EU completely ticked me off. And you know what? Tomorrow is Wednesday. It's still early in the week. I'm not really sure right now what kind of news we have, but price could very much so spike down and come to my entry. We have equal lows right here, clear as day. Price ran liquidity, break a structure, left me a beautiful gap, and we got all this liquidity up here, and it's so close to the 50%. I told my people delete the limit because it just took off without us. It took off without us. So what I'm gonna do? Let's see. I do want to see though. Let's see about news. I know I just exited full screen. I'm drawing a blank on exiting full screen. I literally just pressed escape on my computer screen. Here we go. All right. Let's see. News for tomorrow. Tuesday, Wednesday, we got GBP, CPI, Consumer Price Index, and we have USD, Core CPI. So maybe we could get some crazy spike tomorrow and price could do this. Come down, grab this liquidity, come to my 50%. This is not the right tool. Okay, here we go. So grab liquidity, come to 50% of this gap, and then give me my TP. Okay? But we'll see what happens tomorrow. I am actually going to have them reactivate the limit because this liquidity right here, like, it's too nice. It's too nice. But we have until Friday. If it doesn't play out by Friday, of course, we're going to delete it. I don't know what SFX is, babe. Hey, the SFX works. All right, so let's delete this on EU. We're going to go to the monthly. We're going to see what I might have missed. And already right now, I know I did not come to the monthly. I really just went to the weekly and marked my zones up. But I'm seeing this big old gap right here. So let's see. Did price hit 50% of this gap? Bam, it did. It did beautifully. So we for sure should continue up. I just want to see what it looked like on the lower time frame, that reaction from that daily. Okay, did it run this? Nope. So I don't know if y'all see, but we got two equal highs right here. This is liquidity. It hasn't ran this yet, so it has to continue higher. Right? We gotta get this. As you can see, price reacts to these gaps. Here's another gap right here. Price came back in, continue higher. All right, so it's definitely continuing up. Let's see what we got on the weekly. We had a gap here in the weekly also. So a weekly gap, a monthly gap. Did it hit this weekly gap? No, it did not hit this weekly gap. I'm gonna mark this one just to see where this one is in comparison to the monthly. It's a little bit lower, that's why I didn't get hit. See that? So there's potential because we still have, why is it not telling me how many days? Oh, here it is. We still have 16 days left in this candle. So it's potential that it could shoot back up and then come back down and get that weekly gap. But for now, it's meeting all of my requirements to continue higher for my weekly CRT, right? All right, so yet again, let's do the same thing. We go to the week before, we mark up the low, we mark up the high, and then 50% of that gap. All right, price and see, price is so close to the 50%. This is why I'm saying it played me. So now I come down to the hourly, wait for price to run liquidity, come out of the zone, break structure, which we have what here. Yeah, this was our last break the structure right here. And you wanted to break structure and create a gap. So we got our gap. So possibly with news, if price touches the 50% before coming to this gap, then I'm going to delete my limit. But if it just shoots back down, takes this liquidity, touches this, and then comes back up, then I'll be fine with keeping my limit and letting it play out. So find this gap on your broker, mark it up, find 50% of it, and set your buy limit. Stop loss right here below this candle right before the gap. It's a good 41.22 pips. It's a 22 pip loss for a 94 pip gain. I'm going to set my alert. All right, and I'm going to keep that yellow. I keep my yellow tabs as watching, green we're in, and then blue just forward testing it because I missed something. All right, so GU, we're still in GU. We're gonna delete and let's look and see what we can see. Actually, I'm gonna add USD CAD to this. USD CAD, so we can do that one last. Okay. All right, so let's go to our monthly here. Okay. So GU made a lower low. Higher low, but not a higher high because it didn't break this. This definitely looked like it's downtrending. We got a reaction at this gap right here. Price continued up. Now it came back and traded through. So we could possibly be coming down here. I do want to look at the dollar also. Let's add that. Okay. So right here from the monthly, I really don't know what we got. This weekly is showing us that it's definitely still making lows. But what we look at and our confluences is the weekly CRT. So let's mark up the week before this week, which is last week. This is last week's candle. We'll mark up this low. Mark up this high. And then 50% of the candle, which is our TP. Unless we see a gap inside this zone that comes before the 50% area. Yeah, currently I see no relevant gaps, order blocks, none of that right now. All right, so let's go to the daily. Okay, I see a fair value gap, whole balance price range right here. We got an inversion, fair value gap. So it's giving us better chances on this buy that we're looking at, especially since EU ran off without us. All right, so we had a gap here on the 4 hour that price respected. Price did trade through it, but ultimately it ended up closing above this gap, and then price ended up coming back into our zone. All right, so currently we got our entry right here because we got another gap to come in. We haven't quite gotten 50% just yet on this, but it came really close to 50%. I was already in this. I entered this trade way too early. Where did I enter at? I entered up here. I had a horrible entry and a horrible stop loss. My stop loss was down here. TP here. Just like a 1-to-1. So as price has been moving up, I've been tightening up my stop loss. So it was there, and now it is here, which we're at a 2-to-1 now. But technically, the entry that I should have waited on, no, that's not what I wanted to do. We had a breaker structure here, and price gave us our gap, which is another reason why I got in. It gave us our gap and came back in to our zone. Then it came back down and hit this 4-hour gap, which I was paying no attention to, which was my fault. That should have been the entry. So now we're back here, and this is our current gap. This right here. The price came back into it, and it fell short of our 50%. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go down to the lower time frame and let's see what's going on. We got another gap down here. And price never made another lower low. It came back down and created another lower high. Left this gap open. GU is leaving us a lot of gaps, a lot of gaps. Hey DJ, hey Taylor. It's leaving us a lot of gaps, which is why I've started to rely on the hourly gaps more than the lower time frames, especially with this weekly. So we'll see if price in the morning for London, when you get that CPI news, if it's going to spike back down and let us in. It's a 3-to-1. My stop loss, if you're just entering, would be here. And let's see. Let's see. Yeah, we're definitely getting higher highs. EU is almost at my TP. So let's see. I'm already in this, but my entry was horrible. I do have a second buy limit right here in this gap. TP at 50% of the weekly. All right. So I'm keeping this green because I'm in it. Yellow. We're gonna see if EU. See, this is the thing. If EU travels this far down, GU is gonna have to travel down too. So that's what's kind of scary about this buy limit. But I do want to look at the dollar and see what's going on with the dollar because we do have CPI for the dollar tomorrow. Okay. All right. And I'm going to clear NAS. And let's see what we got. Okay, so US 30 ran the monthly lows. NAS ran monthly lows. Did SPX run monthly low? SPX did too. Okay. So we definitely should continue higher. All right. So I trade the weekly CRT and ICT concepts. Weekly CRT is just basically marking up the week before high and low. So mark the low and the high, and then 50% of that candle's range. It just gives you a better directional basis. Is what I say. It helps you see which way price is moving better. So with the CRT, you want to see price come out of the range. You want to see liquidity ran, and then you want to see price come back into the range, break structure, and create a gap. I am going through all the time frames just to see if there was a gap below, if there was something down here that I'm missing. We have this big inversion here and here, but it looks like price already reacted to those areas. We had this liquidity right here that price did come down and run. All right. This would be the last down candle before this up move. So we did have this order block here. And let's see. Price came back down to 50% of this order block and started to buy back up, reacting off of that order block. So this is what price reacted off of yesterday. All right, or yesterday, earlier today, technically yesterday for trading time because we know it starts a new candle. So this one, I don't see it coming all the way to the 50%. I would take, yeah, because there was one here on the 4 hour too. I would take profit here at this gap, same as on SPX, and because US 30 has already, where is US 30? US 30 has already hit 50%, right? It's already came back into this gap and it's pushing higher. Price could hit here and then everything else could continue to fall because what do we have down here? Over here on SPX, we have this 4 hour fair value gap right here that price came really close to. And we really didn't have nothing on NAS. This already reacted to the order block. But this would be a safer TP than this one for now. All right, so price did what we wanted to do. It came down, took all this liquidity, created all of this consolidation, came back into the range, and then came back down here to the gap, which was the entry. the stop loss at the bottom of the candle that created the gap. Gives you a nice 2-to-1 ratio here on NAS. So we're going to leave this be. We're going to continue to watch this with my blue one. We're forward testing this and we're in SPX. All right, so gold. I was just forward testing this one too. I saw this one late, but I let it be because we didn't run any liquidity. If you just look at this, we're still inside last week's candles range. We're still inside this range. We didn't break the low. We didn't break the high. Same thing on the monthly, right? We left this and it looks like it's continuing higher, but it didn't follow any of my rules, so I let it be. And then I think I came down here to, was it the hour? Yeah, and I literally like saw this gap and I just marked it up because I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to mark my high and my low and see if that breaks it out of where it's at. Let's see. As you can see, price didn't quite hit the 50. It's just in here. There's a gap here that it could stop at, right? And then come back down. But I don't know. That's why I left it alone. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. It didn't run any liquidity. It didn't come out of my range. So